Hello and welcome to java9s.com. I'm Srinivas. Today we are going to look at the object-oriented programming and introduction to Java. You know that Java is being used in many fields. Today Java is famous in mobile phones, and you can see banks, and you can spot it in GPS systems everywhere. So Java has got huge popularity for its platform independence architecture, and also it's being an open source, it has got powerful community which is still contributing and making it more and more powerful, and more number of frameworks are being developed based on Java, and now the most of the powerful enterprise applications are being developed in Java. So today I'm going to give you a sense of what is an object-oriented programming and what is the importance of it. Why do we need this kind of programming methodology? And then I'm going to discuss how really Java has evolved and what is the real concept behind the Java being a platform-independent language. So today's agenda about this presentation is going to be, I'm going to discuss about the programming types first, and I'm going to talk about the object-oriented programming, and then I'm going to talk about introduction to Java, and I'm going to tell you about how Java has achieved the platform independency. So if you look at the programming types, I can classify the programming types as unstructured programming, structured programming, procedural programming, modular programming, and object-oriented programming. I'm going to tell you something about unstructured programming. Imagine you have written around 10 lines of code in our 1960s or 70s where you have already written a functionality pertaining to multiplication in one particular statement, which is a fifth line, and you want to use the same statement somewhere at the bottom. Obviously we start using the labels to call that fifth line and the 10th line or 12th line. This kind of programming where you have many number of go-to statements and all those things make things very complicated. Calling it forms a spaghetti, like you form loops, very complicated loops in terms of calling the other executable parts of the program. Then the structured programming came into picture, where this solved some kind of complexity from the unstructured, but still it was not really prevalent in terms of reusability of the code. So later the procedural programming has come into picture. If you look at this procedural programming, I can explain you this way. I have a main program where, let us take a small example with a calculator. So if you look at the calculator example, we have certain kind of functionality like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and all those things. So in this kind of procedural programming, you separate each and every functionality into different procedures from the main program and call this functionality whenever you want. So you have calling statements in the main program, and the procedures are being stored somewhere else. So this kind of programming gives you the concept of reusing the functionality anywhere in the program. So you are separating the complexity, you are separating the functionality into different procedures. So with this your functionality is always reusable, and your main program is going to be pretty simple. And later, say for example, the problem with the procedural programming is that when you're programming concepts, when the level of programming increases and more functionality has been introduced, then maintaining the procedural programs are really complicated. Say for example, I told you to write an program in the for the calculator and procedural programming. You might get around 5 to 6 procedures. But when I tell you the same to implement for a banking application where you have a lot of procedures working for your credit card, savings account, and then your mutual funds, and then your any fixed deposits or whatever it is. So to maintain this huge number of procedures is really going to be complicated. And when a client says to change interest of credit card from 3% to 5% or whatever, So you need to go ahead to search where the credit card procedure is having the functionality of applying the interest, and you have to pick that one and change it. So to come out of this complexity, these procedures have been packed into certain kind of modules where you can see this procedure 1 and procedure 2 has been packed into module 1, and then module 2 has certain kind of procedures which is going to which will be very useful in terms of maintaining the procedures. But the next strategy is object oriented programming. Why do we have object oriented programming when we already had modular programming, procedural programming, structured programming, and all those things? It's object oriented programming to say is an total big paradigm shift for the software industry, where they got a wonderful and revolutionary concept in those days, like around 1980s, this concept to really represent this real world into the computers. So I'm not going to talk much about the differences between procedural programming and modular programming with respect to object oriented programming. You can search a lot of videos in YouTube itself regarding these terms. Search as differences between modular programming and procedural programming. You can find ample of videos for that. So let us discuss about the object oriented programming. What is an object oriented programming? The main mode of the object oriented programming is to simulate the real world into the computers. Say for example, you would have seen a Road Rash game, or you can see the Windows Age of Empires games, like a lot of people being created on homes, then soldiers, a fort, and all these things. So these are the things actually are the simulation of the real world. So how object oriented programming is going to give you a chance to represent the real world things into the computers. This is what is about object oriented programming. So the real bottom, when you get down to the bottom concept, underlying concept of object oriented, the one statement one has to remember is everything in this world is an object. Everything in this world is an object. So I have a pen. This itself is an object. I am an object. Air is an object. Light is an object. Fan is an object. Book is an object. Camera is an object. So when you state about an object that something is an object, this object should have two things mandatorily, like two things for sure will be there. One is its properties, and the other one is its behavior. Say I'm going to take a simple example here. Look at this. I have a pen in my hand, and I knew that this pen has a color, so it writes in a black font, and then black color, and it has got some price, and there is a manufacturer for this pen. These are the things that we can represent with certain fields, like a price is nothing but a number. A color is nothing but some kind of a combination of characters like black, red, or green, and a manufacturer is obviously is going to be name. And what is the behavior then? How this object is going to be used by other objects is going to be its behavior, like the pen writes. So I as a student or a teacher use this pen to write something. So writing is the behavior of this pen. So remember, every object has two things, we can say it as a members. One is going to be property, and the other one is going to be behavior. So these properties are used to identify the object, and the behavior will be used by other objects in the application. So for example, remember, in the applications or you take in the real world, can you think about yourself living alone without any other object around you? Seriously not. It's going to be a nightmare. Every day to day you use a lot of objects to make your life keep going, like you use your car, you use mobile phone, you use pen, you use a lot of other objects, and they use their behavior to make things happen.